I've become so disheartened, I've become so disheartened, I've become so disappointed, I've become so bored, very state of boredom with the church, a very state of boredom with Christian friends and even Christian colleagues, a total state of boredom. All that matters today amongst the church, all that matters today amongst leaders is spending time in the Word. Spending time in the Word. Have I had my meal today? Has somebody fed me today? Have I been nourished today? I've had my little meal, I've had my little nourishment. All that matters today to leaders and to people is, have I had my little prayer snooze? Have I had my little prayer snooze? Oh, I've spent time with God. I spent time at the very feet of God. The very Spirit of truth, the one who would lead us into all truth, is here amongst us. The very Spirit of God, the very Spirit of God that was sent, the one who would lead us into all truth. Jesus said in the New Testament, it's expedient that I go away, that I can send him unto you, the Comforter, the very Holy Spirit, the one who would lead you into all truth. Very situation of complacency that have resulted today amongst the people, amongst the leaders. Oh, well, as long as I've had my spiritual meal, that is the most important thing. The most important thing is that I have my spiritual meal, that I'm fed. And then I must have my little prayer snooze at the feet of Christ. I must have my little prayer snooze in my closet. As long as I'm fed and as long as I've had nourishment of liquid and prayer time, that's all that matters. The very state of idiocracy, very state of stupidity, a very state of stupidity amongst the leaders. There's no need any longer. It's become too easy since the Holy Spirit was sent. It's become too easy since the Holy Spirit was sent. It was become too easy since Christ sent the Holy Spirit, since God sent the Holy Spirit to earth to dwell amongst us. It's become too easy. Oh, well, we have the Spirit of truth dwelling amongst us. The one who would lead us into all truth. He's all-knowing. He's all-knowledgeable. He's omniscient. He's omnipresent. Very dangerous situation that exists right now, that has existed since for the last numerous hundred of years, 2,000 years, a very dangerous situation that exists. The very same Spirit of truth which is imparting to the leaders, which is available to the leaders, is also available to the people. The very same Holy Spirit that is imparting to leadership and the hierarchy of the church and leaders, pastors, ministers, country leaders, is also available to the people. Everyone is an authority in their own right. Everyone is an authority in their own right. The very need to hear from God, the very need to have a very personal encounter with God has become very null and void, has become very insignificant, has become very a situation of complacency that exists right now. And we read in Acts chapter 2, we read in the very book of Acts chapter 2, the very arrival of the Holy Spirit, the arrival of the Holy Spirit, the one who would lead us into all truth. The very Spirit of truth arriving in the upper room amongst the 120, like a very mighty rushing wind, cloven tongues of fire settling upon the people in the upper room. Very physical manifestation of the Spirit of God. The very power of the living God, the very power that raised Christ, being available to us as leaders. It's also available to the people. Are you with me? It's also available to the people. It's also available to the people. Do you understand the very danger that has crept into the church? Do you understand the very danger that has crept into the church? Very state of complacency amongst leaders. Oh, well, as long as I have the confirmation of the mouths of 2 or 3 witnesses, as long as I have the confirmation of 1 or 2 people, as long as I have so-and-so coming up to prophesy, every second or third week, that should be good enough for the people to realize that it's authentic. As long as I have a very duplication of what this leader is saying, what I'm saying, that should be good enough to be able to convince the people. The very need to have to look into the very throne room of God, the very need to actually look into the very throne room of God. The very impartation of information to lead the people, very impartation of information to lead the Israelites into the promised land, very exchange of information is no longer necessary, is no longer needed. The very veil of the temple has been split. The very veil of the temple has been split in 2. Access is not denied. Access is available to everybody. There's no longer restriction on who access is acceptable to. Access is available to everybody. The very veil of the temple has been split in 2 since the very death of Christ. Very state of pardon, very state of mediocrity, very state of acceptance has arisen. The very respect and the reverence has been removed from the picture. As long as the leaders are spiritually fed, oh well, I've read 4 chapters today, and I've read from 1 or 2 or 3 books, and I've had my little prayer snooze, my prayer time at the feet of Christ, in the very presence of Christ. I'm spiritually fed. My hunger has been nourished. I feel satisfied spiritually. Do you understand? I feel spiritually satisfied. There's no need any longer. There's no need to have to hear. There's no need to have a one-on-one encounter any longer with the very God, the very creator of the universe. There's no need any longer to have a personal encounter as Moses did on the mount. Very impartation of the law, the tablets, the very information to lead the people. It was entrusted to the leaders of that day and not the people. It was entrusted to the leaders. There's no need any longer to have a very personal representation with the king, a very personal representation coming before the high priests, a very personal representation to come before the Sanhedrin. Please explain yourself. There's no need any longer to have a personal representation before the leaders of the high court, the very God, the very creator of the universe. Ever since the Holy Spirit was sent, ever since the Holy Spirit has been sent, it's become too easy. It's become too easy. Do you understand what I'm saying to the church? Do you understand what I'm saying to the church? Do you understand? The very same Holy Spirit that is available to the leaders, that is available to me, is also available to the people. The very same Holy Spirit that is available to me is also available to the people. Very state of confusion, very state of repetition, very state of satisfaction, a very state of complacency. Oh well, as long as I'm spiritually fed. I've read 10 chapters today and I've been praying for 2 hours. That's all that matters. We have the Holy Spirit amongst us, the very Spirit of truth, who would lead us into all truth. There's no guarantees any longer. There's no guarantees. There's no guarantees any longer that the leadership, that the leaders of this very day and age are hearing from the very throne room of God. Do you understand what I'm saying to the church? Do you understand what I'm saying to the church at this time? Very dangerous situation has crept into the church. Very dangerous situation is is in a state of existence right now amongst the people, amongst God's people, amongst the bride. There's no accountability any longer. There's no accountability. There's no representation. As Moses stood on the mount, fixed and transfigured in the very presence of God, the very fear and trembling, impartation, one-on-one encounter, there's no need any longer for personal representation before the very living God. You understand? Ever since the Holy Spirit was sent, it's become too easy.